I wanted to make this video for those of you who are interested in purchasing a Glock pistol. The Glock pistol is probably one of the most popular handguns right now to a lot of people, specifically to a lot of law enforcement, because of its simplicity in taking the gun apart. It's very robust, very easy to maintain as far as maintenance, putting it back together, and to shoot. And the gun itself is it's pretty lightweight, even with a full magazine in it. This one specifically here that I have is a Glock 22 in 40 caliber, which is a popular caliber among law enforcement. Now, of course, before you take any handgun down, you always have to make sure that there is no ammunition around and that the gun itself is unloaded. Lock the slide to the rear, you look up in there, there's no magazine up in there, nothing in there. If you have to, you can take a small little light and shine up in here just to ensure that there's nothing in the barrel. Magazine itself, as you can see, no ammunition, everything's clear. Okay, now to take the gun apart, very simple. You let the slide go forward. You can pull the trigger if you want to. Sometimes you don't have to, but that's up to you. As you can see right here, you have takedown pin. This is one bar that goes all the way across the whole gun on both sides. Okay, to take this gun apart, to take the slide off the top of the frame, you have to simultaneously grab each one on each side, like so. You're going to pull back on the upper receiver like this a little bit, grab each side, pull it down, and let it go. You see how that slides forward? Comes right on off. Okay, turn it upside down, carefully remove that. You got to be careful of this spring right here because it's on a little clip right there that holds it in place. This is your driving spring with the driving spring rod. Just going to push down on that and lift that right on out, just like that. Just lay that off to the side. Okay, then you got your upper receiver here, or your slide as most people refer to, and this is your barrel right here. You're going to lift up on that, or you could push up on it with your finger right here. Push up on it, slide it forward a little bit, and lift it right on out. Lay it off to the side. Okay, now you're left with the upper receiver. A couple of features right in here. You can see this. Okay, this right here, this is your firing pin safety. Okay, this right here, that's your extractor. You can see that. That's your extractor right here. What happens is that when you load the gun and you let the slide go forward, this little clip here clips over the rim of the shell casing to hold it in place. Once the gun is fired and the slide starts moving to the rear, this is going to pull the shell casing out of the chamber to where it hits the extractor, which I will show you in a second, and flip it up and out of the ejection port of the gun. This is your ejector right here. This is what's going to hit that shell casing. When the slide comes back so far, it's going to hit that and flip it up and out the gun. Now, having said that, here's a little safety here on your trigger. This is the only external safety on this gun right here. When you properly place your finger on that trigger, okay, see this little portion right here? this. This way. When you put your finger on there and you press on that, see that thing's going to slide up like that. That engages your trigger. Okay. What's going to happen at the same time is that this pin right here, once you pull the trigger, it's going to start pushing up on your firing pin block pin, which is right here. This is going to move up to engage your firing pin. Okay, this is your firing pin right in here. It's kind of octagon or rectangle shape, but that's your firing pin in there. This portion here, this is your trigger assembly, your trigger bar back here. This is where your sear fits onto. Now what happens is, as you start to pull that trigger, okay, this is going to slide back so far to where it disengages this portion right here, which will be locked back to the rear. Once that disengages and your firing pin block has been pushed all the way up, your firing pin or your striker will go forward, detonate that round, and then the other sequences of firing the gun will go in place, will operate. This right here, this is a Glock tool. You can get these on Amazon. It's got two portions to it. This portion right here, you use it to push these pins out to disassemble the gun even farther if you have to. Then you can unscrew this, flip it over, screw it back in. This portion here is for removing your front sight post. Okay, now I have a different front sight post in here, as you can see. But the normal front sight post that comes with the Glock is like a little bitty screw that this will fit on top of. And this is magnetized. So you get that on there, you screw it, and you can take it right on off. Pretty good little tool. And also with this little cleaning kit here I got, I have a couple extra pieces in here, but you can get this on Amazon too, or you can buy it from one of the gun shops. It's always good to have. I actually have a couple of cleaning kits, a couple of different types. So, you know, one thing has more so in it than the other, so it's all good. And then your magazine. Okay, now a lot of mistake that people make when they're cleaning their guns is that they don't clean their magazines. You have to clean the magazines, because if you're going to get some kind of a stoppage, this is one of the possibilities of where it's going to happen at. Also, as a note, when you purchase new handguns, myself, I always take apart the magazines that come with the gun and look at the spring, because these gun manufacturers, when they make these guns, okay, yeah, it looks all well and good on the outside, it's all pretty and everything, but to save them money and go cheap, they will put a cheap magazine spring in the mag. So you need to take this apart, look at the magazine spring, make sure it's got some elasticity into it, because if it's a weak spring, what's going to happen is when you load your rounds in here and you go to the range to shoot, okay, your spring may not give those rounds enough up to push up that next round into the chamber for you to fire it, and that's where you get your jams. So always make sure you check your magazines, as well as, like I said, when you go to the range and shoot, make sure you clean them. Clean your magazines really good. With the Glocks here, or like I said, you can use your tool. You just press down on this indentation right here, and you got to kind of squeeze the mag a little bit at this portion here. You press down on this and you'll be able to slide it right on off. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But anyway, you have to press down on this portion here and press down on this and pull it this way forward at the same time. If the magazines are new, like mine relatively are, because I haven't used them that much, it's going to be a little bit stiff. But then after you've been working it for a while, then it will be just fine. Now, as far as cleaning, you know, you want to make sure your barrel is clean. Take a a brush, like one of these brushes here, and go up and down the barrel a few times to get that lead from the bullet that might be still up in there, or whatever carbon or what have you. Now, once you've done that, then what you want to do is you want to take a pad, like one of these pads here, put a little bit of oil on it, or before you do that, take a clean pad and run it up through the barrel a few times. You're going to see some black residue on it. Just keep doing it with different pads until you hardly see anything at all. Okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to take another one of these pads and put a little bit of oil on it and run it up and down the barrel a few times just to oil the inside of the barrel. Now these pads, there's no such thing as having enough of these because you're going to go through them. I have a case that I bought of them on Amazon. It's like 1,000 some odd pads of different sizes. It's a good deal to get those because, like I said, you're going to go through those things if you're cleaning your gun properly. Now, also, when you look in your gun, any place that you can see wear, like here on the barrel, you see this. I don't know if you can see that. These marks right here. This is where the barrel is making contact with the inside of the slide. Okay, those portions of the gun, that's where you want to put a little bit of oil at, because you're having that friction, that contact. Okay, with the slide itself, all you have to do is you can take a brush like this one right here that comes in my kit, run up and down there, maybe wipe it down with a rag or whatever. Then what you're going to do is take another one of these pads, fold it in half to where you have like a little bit of corner, put just a little bit of oil on it, and then you're just going to run it up and through the grooves right here on each side, just a little bit. That's all you got to do. You don't have to put a whole lot of oil on it. You might want to drop a little bit of oil in this hole right here for your firing pin, or maybe within this hole, you know, but you don't have to put a lot. You don't have to put a lot of oil on this gun. It's very robust. Okay, just like here. All right, you've already got the oil on the rails. If you want to, you can put just a little bit of oil on this right here, a little bit of oil on your takedown, your pin right here, because it's going to make contact with the metal portion of the gun. Just put a little bit of oil right here. You really don't have to oil anything else, really. You just basically wipe the gun down and you'll be good to go. But always, like I said, whenever you go to the range to shoot, once you get back, the first thing you need to do is clean your gun and clean your magazines. Okay, give them a good going over, you know. And the thing about it is that you might have gone to the range for a while, but your gun will still get dirty, because what happens is that after you've been firing, okay, you've cleaned your gun, okay, you got all that residue off of it and stuff like that. If you use WD-40 or something like that, break free, what break free does, just like the name implies, it constantly breaks down that residue. So you could have cleaned your gun really good and not have gone to the range for like a month, and then you take your gun and look at it and you see all this dirt and stuff in it, like this gunk. Okay, that's from the break free oil constantly breaking down. Now also, before you go to the range also, and before you get ready to shoot, you might just want to put just a little bit of oil on your gun, you know, because the oil can dry up after a while. Just put a little bit of oil on your gun, you know, and then rack the slides back a little bit, you know, to get it moving just a little bit. Because the premise is, when you shoot your gun, you want to shoot from dry to wet, not wet to dry. In other words, as long as your gun and you're shooting and you got some kind of gunk and stuff on it, that's lubrication. So you're going to be okay with that. Now, put the gun back together. Take your slide like so, upside down. Take your barrel. Don't try to put your barrel in upside down. It only goes one way. You're going to slide it up in here like this. Slide it forward, and it should drop right in place just like that. Now, with the spring here, you got to be a little bit careful like this. You see a little like nipple portion here on the front. That's going to go in here. Then what you're going to do is you're going to press down on this a little bit, and there's a couple little grooves. Let me show you this. There's a couple little grooves down in here. Like you got this one here, you got this one down here. Okay, this is the one where you want that spring assembly to go. Not up on this one, but down in this one. So you're going to put that in there like so. Be careful with this. Push that down. To where it slides down there in place. Okay, once you got that, then you're going to take your frame, and with your grooves, I like to do it upside down. Slide your grooves in there like so, and then you're going to slide it all the way back just like that. It locks in place. Now once you've done that, then the next thing you do is you want to do your function check. Okay, you've already got your slide on here like so. All right, make sure you got your weapon pointed off in the safe direction, even though you know it's unloaded. It's just a good habit to be into. Okay, pull the trigger, you should hear the striker fall like so. Okay, now to check the trigger, to make sure it resets, you've got your finger on the trigger, you're going to hold it back, you're going to cycle the slide like so. Keep holding it, then you're going to slowly release the trigger. Once you release the trigger, you should hear a click. Hear that? Okay, let me do that again. That's your trigger being reset. Okay, then you're going to pull the trigger. If that's how you want to do it, it's fine. Insert your magazine. Another check, you want to make sure that your follower in your gun is working also. So pull it back with an empty magazine in it. Your gun should lock to the rear just like that. And it would do that same thing once you're at the range firing and you fired your last round. Your slide should automatically lock to the rear. Sometimes it does. Like I said, sometimes it may not, because you've got a weak round in there. And if that does happen, but you know that the gun is empty, okay, you fired it, okay, but the slide didn't lock all the way to the rear, it's still forward. Take your finger off the trigger. You're going to drop the magazine, keeping the gun pointed down range because you don't know what's going on with it. Just hold it there for a few seconds, maybe 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds or so. Nothing happens. Okay, then what you're going to do, you're going to pull the slide to the rear and let that round eject out. Watch that round go out. Okay, once it goes out, then what you're going to do, lock the slide to the rear, check it, make sure there's nothing in there, and then you're good to go. Okay, any questions on that? Just give me a holler.